Well, hello from Douglas Prom on the Isle of Man. We've labelled this the guide to the prom, and we're recording this in January 2022. This is just a snapshot in time of really what you can expect. A lot of visitors will be interested, I know, and people living off the Isle of Man, of what's been going on the promenade. We've certainly documented it for some time. So let's start by showing a video that the government made. So while this is playing, it gives you some of the highlights of how it was going then, and it looks very lovely. They've got some beautiful shots in here. Let me remind you about this £26 million project. Of course, the COVID issues put the thing up by at least £1.5 million. It was a 2-year project, started in 2018, meant to be ready for 2020, about October. Of course, it's the first major work done on the promenade since about 1935. It's 1.75 miles long, which is 3 kilometres. And they're saying that no more work should be needed on the actual roadway for 40 years. So other things that we'll be looking at, well, there's 500 spaces now for cars, we understand. Now that's a reduction of about 130. You're going to find 17 bus stops, 7 taxi ranks, 5 loading bays, 4 coach bays, which can accommodate 9 coaches, 14 pedestrian crossings, including 6 uncontrolled tactile crossings. Now these are slightly controversial because obviously it's actually not a crossing as such, it's just a dim colour paving, and just like maybe the roundels to some degree, it's that sort of feeling of do we go, do we not go. We'll see how that pans out, of course, but more on that as we look around the whole place. There's 9 EV charging points, electric vehicle charging points, plus here at the Sea Tunnel they've got a mega fast one as well. I think a couple actually here, so they're going to be increasing, I understand, as demand goes on. And overall, looking at the My Prom website, says the idea is about lower speeds on the prom in part, really more sort of responsibility between the pedestrians and the car drivers. That's certainly we're talking about the roundels. The My Prom website, just having a look at it though, it hasn't seemed to be updated since last year, I think November. I don't know if they've all now been reassigned, or I know technically the headline was that all the work's been done as far as the actual roadway, but we'll be seeing as our video goes on. That's obviously still work in progress. Needless to say, one of the biggest contentions at the moment is still the horse trams, because they only go as far as the Sefton, Gaiety and all that area, the cultural area. And of course Tynwald did want it to go away, things didn't work out that way, and it's still up in the air. So there's this lovely area which just sows seeds, and one day potentially might see the horse trams go the complete length of the prom. But people obviously have had that in the past, especially when you get off the boat and you want to do your touristy thing. You could go along and then pick up the electric tram. At the minute you have to go all the way down to the Gaiety area to pick up the horse trams, and it's ongoing. The seawall, we'll be looking at that, and of course that's taken a hit, a major hit, 3 different places where it's been affected, and this has been due to the storms. Of course there's maybe a seawall put up as well around by the War Memorial, and that's an ongoing issue. Interesting, the street lights near Broadway. Now I come through here in the dark and it's been very off-putting because if you can see from these shots, there's still no lights on the top of some of these poles. There's quite an area that isn't lit at all. There's other contentions maybe about the LEDs not all working in sync, but that's probably an ongoing matter. But certainly no sign yet of any lights on the top there. Now there is a pedestrian crossing which is fenced off, thank goodness, because I go through there at dark and I think, goodness, I wouldn't see anybody, but technically it's not working at the moment. So this is it, all the way from here we're going right down to the Sunland End. We refer to it still in the Isle of Man as Sunland, and of course it's still this site that greets people of this building from the 70s that is still sitting there. So I hope you enjoyed the sort of look around, and we'll take you more along now from here all the way down to the other end. So we come to the end of the horse tram line anyway, down here at what is termed the Sunland End of Promenade, and it's interesting to see all the different sites. And of course, one of the things to point out, these new lights have caused massive controversy because we've lost the lovely coloured lights between each of the poles, and of course the old lights here had the three legs of man symbol in them. And this one, by the way, looks like it's already had someone's hit it or something's happened because the paint missing. But it's going to be interesting. Technically, I suppose, if everything goes right, people in 2060 can be watching this video and see no particular change to the promenade, because they've said it's 40 years before the next overhaul of this whole area will be. But anyway, we'll see about that. Of course, down here is where the phase began, and that first red concrete in the middle of the horse trams put down and then replaced in parts when there was cracking, which led to a project that's been beset by all sorts of problems. And of course, everyone expected things not to necessarily go to time, but who could have foreseen the COVID shutdowns? I think 3 of them affected the promenade. But it's going to be one of those things, maybe by 2060 people will really think this is a great project and well worth the money and the time, and that will be seen of course by future generations. But in the meantime, the look along the promenade in January 2022 comes to an end. It could all be different in a month's time.